interviews with business owners and veteran executives who share their wisdom and expertise to help you de-stress, free up time, and make more money. Profits of IT. Welcome back to the Profits of IT. I am Jim Punzenberger, your host and the creator of the Managed Prospecting System. You're looking to generate new clients or partners without cold calling, ad spend, or spamming, be sure to check out managedprospectingsystem.com. I have a true veteran in the channel industry with me. He's been in the industry for over 23 years. He's a 3-time TEDx speaker. He's a fractional channel executive, and he's been on the CompTIA boards. And also a serial volunteer. Greg, please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a quick bit about yourself and your company.
Sure. Hey, Jim. Good to be here. Thanks so much. Greg Plum. Yep. I am a serial volunteer. I started out volunteering like when I first got into the industry over 20 years ago. And it's funny, it came from a painful experience. That's what really started it. I had been in the channel for about a decade, and then that was the communications channel. And I thought, I got this. This is a piece of cake. I'm going to go into the IT space. I went to my first event, a CompTIA event. I remember walking to the room, looking around, and not knowing a soul. And it was a really uncomfortable spot to be in. And I kind of vowed at that point I didn't want to be in that situation again. And the very next week, I volunteered. I threw my hat in the ring and said, look, I want to get involved. And was really fortunate. I had some people that went to bat for me, and I was able to get a volunteer board seat on a council, and got to start contributing right out of the gate. And as a result of that, over the years, I've had many, a lot of different positions there. But now I go to these events and it feels more like homecoming as opposed to being an outsider walking in. So it's made all the difference. And that's why I volunteer. I just give, and I don't expect any, you can't give to expect something in return, because if you do, if you succeed, you get just that back. But if you just give, just to give, Adam Grant wrote the book, Give and Take. It's phenomenal. I try to live that way. I can't say I'm always good at it 100%, but just give for the sake of giving. And it just ultimately comes back in spades, down the road when you least expect it.
So, Greg, what's something interesting about yourself outside of work?
Outside of work?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. That's a tough one. Well, I am a glutton for punishment. You mentioned 3 times TEDx speaker. I mean, it's yes. Like why I hear people say, like, why do you do it? Well, there's a thrill to like putting yourself out there, I think. And you're exposing yourself, and you could fall flat on your face, and you do it for no money whatsoever. But it's been a ton of fun. And ultimately, the last one actually even led to some revenue generating consulting opportunities. So you just never know. What else? I mean, I'm a little bit, believe it or not, I don't look it, but I'm kind of handy. My wife and I live in an 1840s farmhouse. So you better be handy, or you better be a multimillionaire, because those are your 2 choices if you live in a house like that.
So you're handy and a multimillionaire?
I'm handy. Working on the other. It's all, so I'm pretty passionate. I'm definitely a channel. You said channel. I'm definitely a channel guy. And I discovered it, Jim, by accident. My very first job out of college. And funny, here's an interesting tidbit. I was a geophysics major, right? I got my bachelor's in geophysics. Never once practiced geophysics. I landed in corporate America right out of the gate. That's a long story. But I learned about, at my first company, it was a finance company. I learned about the concept of partnerships and affinity relationships and the power of them. And really, it's just manifested itself in different forms over the years. And I discovered I'm a pretty bad salesperson. So I figured,
I feel you're feeling pain at being a bad salesperson.
Yeah. I mean, like, in my mind, I mean, I've worked with side by side, under and over top of some really good salespeople, and it's just not in my DNA. but relationships are, and I love that part. And that's when I realized the concept of channel. I could use the relationship strategy to grow a business as opposed to selling directly. And that's kind of what I doubled down on. And at this point, it's become kind of my career, and
Uh-huh.
it's fun.
And we were talking right before we started this episode that you kind of have a unique strategy in volunteering, and using volunteering, like volunteering will then create uh, relationships, and you want to expand more on that. And I might have heard that your superpower is volunteering.
Yeah. What it does, I mean, there's a few things. I mean, I've over the years at CompTIA, I've had a few chair roles. That I've chaired the Emerging Technology Council community. The funny thing about that is these are seats that I wouldn't even say I was the highest, most qualified person, but I was given the opportunity, and it gives you really a voice. It gives you an opportunity to step in, and we all love our P&Ls. There's no question about that. But when you can actually impact something more than your P&L and actually have a voice in the industry as a whole and shaping it, and at least just being a part of the conversation, it's kind of humbling and extremely rewarding. So that's why I volunteer. I mean, it gives me the opportunity to contribute in a way that I normally would not have had. And then there's a lot of cross-pollination. I sit at a table with people that are way more qualified than I am, and we have an equal voice. That to me, and you truly connect with people because you realize, I'm sitting side by side. I actually took over the role I took over for CompTIA. I took over from Mike Haynes, who runs, I think, global compensation, partner compensation for Microsoft. And then here I come stepping in his shoes. It's just fun to be able to be given that opportunity. So that's why I volunteer. And you're through that whole time, you're building your network and you're cultivating that. And it's no longer am I coming at these relationships with a sales pitch. It's coming at it from a, hey, what can we do together to help the tide rise?
So maybe I'm not haven't done much volunteering in my past, but I want to utilize this strategy, so to speak. Where do I start? How do I any tips on that? If you know, I haven't been a volunteer in the past. Where do I start? What should I know?
With your passion. Find your passion. What do you like? And it doesn't have to necessarily be it doesn't have to be in IT or technology. I just I latched onto this one to CompTIA, and then it just turned into one thing after the other. I mean, there's a local technology council where I am, and I chair that one right now too. And it's just a lot of fun. It's fun to see that, to cross-pollinate things that are going on at the national level with CompTIA and bring that down to the community where I am, right here in my backyard, which is tons of fun. It's actually helped me network locally. I was always better, like you, Jim. I think you're really good at networking. Since we discussed this before, you're like that's your superpower, kind of networking and doing it in a virtual fashion as opposed to pressing the flesh.
Yes.
I had way more contacts outside of my backyard than I did in my backyard. I had to change that. So by joining the council, the local council here, it gave me some exposure locally, and then ultimately it led to the chair role. It's just a matter of putting yourself out there and being willing to contribute a little bit and listen, and listen to what the audience wants, what the membership wants. And it starts with the passion, though. If you're not passionate about it, just don't even bother, because you lose interest, and then that's just a tangent. Just don't do that. So, I mean, it might be like, I love architecture, I love old homes, so that's another direction I could take, totally separate. And maybe when I retire, maybe that's the direction I'll go to volunteer. Maybe I will. And I've what's it hold on, I'm drawing a blank on Habitat for Humanity. I've done a little bit of that in the past. So I would say find something that really makes you feel good and rewarded, and go in that direction, because you're not going to get paid.
Right. You get paid in relationships and
Absolutely.
other ways than monetarily from your time.
For sure. Yep.
Any other thoughts on this?
Now, the volunteer piece, I mean, it was the second TEDx I did was called Give Till It Hurts, and it's specifically about that. It's just putting yourself out there And it's just amazing what comes back when you do it just for the sake of giving. It's kind of fun to see what ends up happening.
Got it. So I guess before we wrap up here, is there a ask that you have or networking you'd like to do? Anybody that should be reaching out to you, or who should
You
be
know,
reaching out to you, and why should they be reaching out to you?
sure, I appreciate it. So if anybody, just if any of this has resonated, I'm happy to chat with you. I love the network. I'm a LinkedIn junkie, so please find me on LinkedIn. It's just simple, Greg Plum. It's pretty easy to find. There's only one of me out there, thank God. So by day, what I'm a fractional executive. I think we talked about that, partnerships. I work with I'm on my own, but I work with an advisory firm called Partner Ready. And what we do is we're fractional channel, partnership and ecosystem leaders. So we go into companies, usually work with SaaS founders, usually around Series B, that are looking to scale through partnerships, whether that's wholesale relationships, marketplaces, strategic alliances. That's what we do with that ecosystem. And now an ecosystem, Jim, I don't know if you've heard, that's kind of one of the big new buzzes. I mean, it's not a new concept,
Right.
but it's definitely getting a lot of attention today. And that's what we do, is we help SaaS founders really identify their ideal customer and the ecosystem around that customer, and help them go to market in that fashion. So yeah, if anybody's looking for some guidance there, just want to chat about it, happy to do it.
Cool. And so they should reach out to you on LinkedIn. Look you up on LinkedIn, Greg, Greg, Plum, Plum.
Yep, or you can get me on my email. My email is real easy. It's Greg@PlumUC. That UC used to stand for Unified Communications back in the day when I first set out, but it's now just kind of expanded into more. So Greg@PlumUC.com.
Got it. Well, thank you for your time here today and sharing your unique perspective on utilizing volunteering as a strategy to grow relationships.
Of course, Jim. It's good to be here. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Until next time on the Prophets of IT, I am Jim Punzenberger, your host and the creator of the Managed Prospecting System. Be sure to check out managedprospectingsystem.com.
Thank you for tuning in to the Prophets of IT. Please smash that like button, subscribe, and share.